A very hearty good evening, everybody. Franklin D. Roosevelt believed nobody will ever deprive the American people of the right to vote except the American people themselves, and the only way they could do this is by not voting. In the words of Abraham Lincoln, I quote, "The ballot is stronger than the bullet." This debate is about ensuring that the younger generation of the nation should be given the chance of having a say in the way they are governed, as they too are contributing and active members of the society, and should develop a clear concept of their voting right. On side proposition, I would focus on three main arguments. Firstly, 16-year-olds are skilled and knowledgeable and have political efficacy. Lowering the voting age to 16 increases voter turnout and develops lifelong voting habits. At age 16, people should have a voice in the laws that affect their lives and a stake in the future of the country. The voting age in India should be lowered from 18 to 16, and this policy should be implemented by the next elections. 16-year-olds are just as knowledgeable about civics and have the same ability to make good voting choices as old voters. Therefore, they do want to cast votes in ways that enable their interests to be represented fully well. Researchers say that people who participate in elections when they first reach the voting age are likely to develop the habit of voting, and those who don't are more likely to remain non-voters. 16-year-olds are learning about government and civics in high school, and the structured environment would lead to higher turnout among 16 and 17-year-olds as teachers and parents help them overcome typical obstacles of first-time voters, such as the registration process and finding their places. By contrast, many 18-year-olds are in a time of transition, making them less likely to participate in elections. Statistics claim that number of 16 to 17-year-olds is 44 million in India, which is a large percentage of the population. Involving young people in voting can have a trickle-up effect on civic participation that mobilizes their parents and adults of the households to vote, increasing the overall voter turnout rate. At age 16, people should have a voice in the laws and lives. Students today live under threats to their futures, such as school shootings and climate change, and they deserve to have influence over their elected officials beyond the protests they have organized. Allowing 16-year-olds to vote will enable them to vote before leaving home and high school and establish a lifelong habit of voting, which means that they are affected by the labor laws. Evidence from Austria confirms that extending voting rights to people after they turn 16 promotes higher turnout for first-time voters and over time. Austria's evidence shows that these 16-year-olds are ready to contribute sound decision-making and quality participation in democracy. Teens can also be tried as adults for committing crimes. They go to poorly funded schools, get sick, and have healthcare concerns, are discriminated against for their race, nationality, and gender identity. Why should they be left out of the conversation about the laws that dictate how they'll be treated in the world, just like adults? Studies show that people tend to start voting when they are in a stable place to do so. When someone is 18 years old, she might be moving out of their parents' house, going to college somewhere, and generally trying to figure their life out, which can feel like a full-time occupation at 18. But 16-year-olds are more likely to have stability in their lives, making it a better time to start the voting habit than 18. Not allowing 16-year-olds to vote further adds to younger people's feelings of political alienation and suggests that the in-views are not valid. The longer young people are denied involvement in the formal democratic process, the less chance there is of engaging them over. The numbers of young people's interest in politics is ridiculously low. How should we address this? If we allow them 16-year-olds to vote, it would encourage them to investigate further into how it all works. Some may not be interested at all, that's fine, but should we really obstruct the opportunities of those interested in learning more? Moreover, due to the introduction of citizenship classes into the national curriculum, 16-year-olds are now in a better position than ever to make an informed decision in elections. It's clear that in modern day, a 16-year-old is far more knowledgeable than the ones in the times of the past, when such laws differentiating minors and adults were made. With a growing awareness of the society and the daily occurrences, we observe the 16-year-olds have the ability to understand politics and its effect on their lives. But none can deny the same 16-year-olds are affected by the policies of the election winners. Thus, they should be allowed to choose the leaders who would be crowned with the duty of shaping the society. The opposition might say that 16-year-olds are too immature to receive the right to vote. If maturity is the issue, it should be taken into consideration that there could be 18, 20 or 30-year-olds who are irresponsible. This, however, doesn't mean that we deny them the right to vote. Lowering the voting age would also mean that schools would have a good reason to start teaching the basics of politics. If their pupils will be allowed to vote, then what about the national political system or running debates in public pupils represent the political parties? That would result in well-prepared 16-year-olds who will go on to be more politically engaged adults. No taxation without representation was the slogan of the workers during the American Revolution, who thought it was tyrannical. Many 16-year-olds work and pay tax on their earnings just as any other workers would. Yet, unlike other workers at present, they are not allowed to have a say in what the government spends their money, not in how much should be collected from them in taxes. This was famously the grievance of the 13 colonies that sparked the American Revolution. Thus, if young people are old enough to have choice, they should be able to have a say in their issues.